Well, my clock says it's 11, so we can begin. So, thanks everyone for attending, and sorry to hear the loss about all the empty seats. They were most likely eaten by werewolves, but luckily you guys will be well prepared for such attacks in the future. So, before I go to the presentation, just a few words about me. I've been playing Werewolf for over 10 years now. I don't want to go about how long over 10 years for reasons. But yeah, I've mostly played online on the nickname Violet on various forums, and I've attended quite high-level Werewolf competitions online as well, such as in the Mafia Universe website. I played there in the championships games 3 times. Twice I made it to the finals, once to the semifinals. So I can quite comfortably say I know a little bit about this game. And of course, my perspective is in the forum Mafia, but same rules apply to live in-person games as well. So for those of you who play live, this will be hopefully useful as well. But first, I trust that most of you guys, girls, however you identify yourself as, know already the basic concept of Werewolf. So it's a team game, and that's very important about it. There are 2 teams, the werewolves and the town. The town has the majority of the people, but they don't know who their teammates are. Whereas the werewolves are a small group, they know each other, and they kill people in the night. All players vote 1 player out of the town during the day, and that player is eliminated. The town wins by eliminating all the wolves from the game, and the wolves win when they are equally matched in numbers by the town. And the cycle of days and nights will continue until the victory condition is met. And while I said that the werewolves have a factional kill each night, there may be also other abilities during the night depending on the setup that is being played. I believe this is the basic level, and everyone who has ever played Werewolf should know this already. But instead of just thinking of the victory conditions as, well, survive or to find wolves, it's easier and quite helpful to put these victory conditions in numbers. So if we have a game of 15 players, where 12 people are normal villagers with no abilities, and 3 players are werewolves. If we put this victory condition in numbers for town, it is that find a group of 7 players that contains 3 wolves. If you kill these 7 players in the game and it contains the 3 wolves, town will win. This is because each day you will kill 1 player and wolves will eliminate most likely the towniest player from the game. And by the numbers, the town has to kill 1 wolf on the 5th elimination. Otherwise, wolves will gain majority at that point and win the game. So if the 5th, 6th, and 7th eliminations on the day are wolves, the town will win the game. And as for wolves, the win condition is to eliminate incorrectly 5 players during the day. Because when that happens, the wolves will gain the majority. We can count this by running through the numbers. At first, we have 12 town, 3 wolves. After first day, night cycle, it's going to be 10 villagers versus 3 wolves. After that, 8 villagers versus 3 wolves, the town still has a majority. And after that, it's going to be, oh, I'm bad at math. 11, yeah, 9 players, so 6 town and 3 wolves. And this will be the 4th elimination. There will be 7 players with 4 town and 3 werewolves. So this is the position where town is put into a win or lose moment by their next vote. If the wolves will get their 5th mis-elimination, the wolves will win in this case. But the town can still win by finding the 3 wolves and voting them out back to back to back. So this is where the number game is played out. And it's very important to keep in mind because the town strategy to play the game can be centered around this fact. Usually, you will find some players you will trust. And there are, of course, those players you suspect are wolves or who you cannot get a good read on. If you will find those 7 players who are the most suspicious and you correctly place the 3 wolves there, you have won as town. Well, you of course need to put that to action, and that's more complicated, but you already have the map for victory there. So the pool of eliminations is a group of players you mistrust. Some good attributes of the pool of elimination is that it's not too big, but not too small. So if your pool of elimination is in 15-player game, 13 players, it's not very effective in narrowing down who you want to vote out during the day. On the other hand, if your pool of elimination is 1 or 2 players and there are 3 wolves, then you can be certain that you are misreading something. So because of that, keep it in the range of the eliminations you have left, and by maximum, and by minimum the number of wolves that are in the game. The number of the wolves in the game is very small limit because it's very hard to pin down exactly the 3 wolves in the game or the exact number. So that's why bigger is usually better in this case. But lastly, a good attribute of the pool of elimination is that it's dynamic. It evolves through the day. If you create the pool of elimination on day 1 and you eliminate 3 players, it's day 4, and you haven't reassessed your reads, then you are in trouble. Simply because you have gained new information on many days, and by not dynamically updating the pool of elimination, well, you are not applying the info to the game you have and making a mistake in that. So how do we find the pool of elimination the best way? Something that I myself prefer is a reverse approach. It's not about pointing out the players who are suspicious, but finding the players you find the most town. And for example, if it is the 15-player setup of 12 town versus 3 wolves, if you find a group of 8 players that contains no wolves, that's also the same as finding the group of 7 players that contains the 3 wolves. And you can win if you reach that clarity. And how I usually do this myself is that I categorize players to town core, the players I trust are town, the players I'm willing to defend, and then the town leans. They are the players I'm not really sure of it. They could be town, they most likely are town, but there is still doubt. It's not useful to eliminate those players during the day, but I don't have the confidence to firmly commit to them as town yet. So usually the situation is that the players in town core start to die out and you have to fill them out, because wolves will prioritize eliminating players who are generally trusted. So you will need to develop the town core as well during the day. And one thing you should note is that if you can apply it to yourself that I'm one of the 8 town that I need to find. So you will need to find only seven other players who are town. But if you go with that approach, you forget that you also need to appear yourself as town for that to work. This is a team game, especially for town, and the town core should be it's good to form with other people as well, to find a village consensus on who are the towniest people. And there are many benefits to forming a town core. So even if you're not using it to score the pool of elimination you want to have, it's still a good exercise. Firstly, by having some people you can trust, you reduce the number of people you need to constantly analyze. Of course, it's not a good practice to leave players completely unattended. Sometimes people make obvious slips that they are wolves, but still it reduces the mental strain of having to follow everyone as accurately. Secondly, by finding the towny players, you have a platform of which you can bounce ideas. So usually it's very difficult to find wolves alone. Or if you make a great theory, someone else might point out that, that's not actually true because the player didn't suspect the other player that much. This is actually the correct course of events. And by having these discussions with town, you can be more confident that you're not being misled by wolves. So form the town core and try to get into it as town, because that makes playing much nicer experience for you. Nothing is as frustrating as getting eliminated day 1 as town. Well, maybe getting eliminated as wolf day 1 is more infuriating. And here are still 5 general tips on how to have a strong town game. Well, the first tip is to be active. If you are just quiet and you do not bounce ideas, you are not contributing to the game. You are not showing yourself as town to other players, and you are not really contributing to your own win condition. There are, of course, times when it's better to be more quiet and to observe more of the game. And there are, of course, individual styles. You don't need to always be vocal. You can observe. But if you never give any output of your observations and you keep them to yourself, you will usually harm the town win condition by not contributing to the team game. There are some play styles that play against this, and it can be very effective by being a town who doesn't share information but tries to make traps for wolves or something like that. It can work, but it's not the general approach that I would recommend to starting players or more advanced one-siders. The second tip is to stay focused and stay observant. There are many things in tone game and wolf game that should be taken into account. One of them is who suspects who, what is the situation with votes, who are the power roles if they have claimed, and that's about it. It will help you to find out contradictions in other players' game, and that may lead you to find wolves. The third tip is to follow your intuition, but keep it in check. If your intuition pings you, for example, that you should press something further, or you should question someone, it's usually a good idea, because if you have a sense that something is off, it's usually worthwhile to pursue that idea. But sometimes the intuition can result in you tinfoiling, giving what-if scenarios. And sometimes this, well, it's my fourth general tip here to avoid tinfoil. If you tinfoil, it can create destabilizing effect to the town core. If you tinfoil too much, it can make it hard to find other players as town, and that is damaging to the town game overall. And yeah, work together with the players you identify as town, but listen to everyone. This is a general tip, and it helps you to manage the game properly by having those platforms where you can bounce ideas, but not leaving anything unattended. Well, are there any questions so far? Well, let's start from here.
What exactly do you mean by tinfoil?
Oh, well, if you say that I think Utra or town, you said this, this, and this, and it's generally established that, yeah, he's town. And well, then you are there but thinking, what if I will take the tinfoil in my head, the foliohattu, and start thinking that what if he is actually a wolf? Even though the seer 2 nights ago said that he is a town by checking his role in the night, what if something happened? What if the wolves have an even stronger role that prevents this from info from being revealed? So, like, it is of course healthy to keep some level of paranoia to all players, but being too paranoid and tinfoiling can damage the established town core that will then destroy the game by town not finding anyone to trust. And you also had a question.
Yeah, I was wondering about the first few days when playing as town. So usually the first few days feel pretty difficult because you don't have any information about anything, but you still have to be kind of active. You try to find something meaningful to discuss with people because you kind of have to, because you're town, you have no other way to victory. Is there like anything, any kind of tips you can give for the first few days?
Yeah, I have a few general tips on what are good ways to find wolves. But of course, day one is very difficult for town, but it is also very awkward for wolves as well. You are like, well, who are the wolves? I have no info. Let's have casual discussion and try to find them. While the wolves know who they are are hiding their information. Of course, in live games, you can check the reactions of other players, and that way try to assess whether they are just trying to act natural or not. And in forum games which I read, it can be assessed that which players appear forced. Like, does their solving seem genuine? For example, I'm recently playing a game where a player posted very little, and I started to suspect him. After he got a few votes, what he did was that he claimed that he read every player and gave a list of opinions of every player. Well, most of those lists, names on the list and the rates they gave were very surface level. They didn't go in depth, and they were very non-committal, like, I kinda suspect this player, but I'm not sure because they said this as well. And I counted like 6 attributes of maybes in 4-sentence paragraph. So to me, that appeared that on day one, he was a wolf struggling to create content and trying to just appear Solvi instead of being Solvi. And these are some of the tells you can try to find on players. But I will go further into these tells after I've talked about the win condition of wolves. So playing as wolf is objectively more fun as playing town. Well, maybe. But as I said earlier, the wolves also have their win con in numbers. They need to eliminate certain number of town during the day to win. And it doesn't matter how many wolves are alive in the end. Wolves win together. So even though it can be an attractive option for all the wolves to win the game together and to be happy in the end, sometimes trying to shield other wolves from suspicion is worse for you as a team, because it can bring up your relations, like, why are you defending your friend there? Are you both wolves? And you get caught as a team. Getting caught as a team is bad, but getting caught as an individual is salvageable and winnable for wolves. So if a wolf is dying, the wolf has to be in a position where his death or her death cannot be connected to the other wolf members. Also, it is equally problematic if a wolf dies, and by dying, that wolf reveals that some certain players are town. For example, if 3 players are suspecting me strongly from the very get-go and I get eliminated, it is likely that these 3 players are town because they suspect me strongly from the very first day. So in situations like this, it is better for one of the wolves to be in the suspecting position of me if I'm going down, so that they get some protection from the immediate connections. So here are some tips for wolves to look like town. And well, by reverse, by looking for some of these things, the team of town can identify wolves. One of them is that wolves have different kind of a mindset to the game from the get-go. Wolves are trying to survive. They are not trying to actually solve reads, actually solve the game and find the wolves. So this means that the wolves have a different perspective and objective in the game. And in many times, the wolves write something very casual or say something that on surface level sounds okay, but it might in the end seem like it doesn't come from a towny perspective. I should have taken examples of this, but for example, if I am suspecting a player and that suspicion is not connected to what the player has actually done, then it doesn't seem like I'm actually voting the person because I suspect them, but because, for example, they are voting a team member of mine. For example, if that player votes my team member and I immediately start pushing them that this is incorrect and I don't have a plausible explanation for that, it can be because I have a different approach to the game. I'm trying to shield my partner in the game. So these kinds of perspectives need to be watched on. Another thing is that the wolves are plagued by too much information, or TMI. So As I said earlier, the team of town is paranoid. They do not know who are who. But as wolves, you know who is who, and you don't actually feel paranoid. So, as a wolf, if someone trusts you, and you are like, yeah, okay, you trust me, you think I'm town, that's good. Well, on surface level, this might seem good for wolves, that there is a player suspecting them, a player trusting them. But if you, without any hesitation or paranoia, accept all the reads other player gives you, if some players read you down, then someone may note that, well, why are you feeling paranoid? Earlier you said that you suspect this player, but now that he's saying you're down, you're entirely okay with it. Why is this so? So if you have this too much information dilemma, you should try to appear paranoid and show that you do not have this, you don't have too much information. You are lost and confused down just like everyone else and just trying to figure out the game. And lastly, it's important for wolves to appear solvy in the game as well. If the wolves are not being active in the discussion, well, firstly, there are some play groups that eliminate players based on how vocal they are on the first days. Like, it's very common for quiet players to go down just because they do not contribute and we don't have enough information. I don't myself advocate for that. Wolves must be looking out for that as well. And secondly, if you are just not actively solving the game, other players will eventually get suspicious of you. But even though you are solving the game, you can endorse the bad ideas of other players, you can mislead, you can pocket other players. Pocketing is a strategy where you convince another player of you being down. It's like you go into their pocket and they carry you to the finish line by shielding you in the game. That's something you might want to do for towns, especially if you think that they are in the position where they can carry and shield you to the end game. And another common wolf strategy is bussing. So as I said, if I am being suspected as a wolf, I would rather be thrown under the bus by my own teammates than be caught by towns. Because if town gets me, the town who found me will get credibility from eliminating me that game. Whereas if I am thrown under the bus by other wolves, the wolves will get credibility. But it's a very delicate strategy. A wrongly timed bus can lose games, but well-timed one can salvage an otherwise losing one. You have a question?
Yeah, I don't know about the tournament perspective. Like, does your team winning also count you winning if you're there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So like in some situations, it's beneficial as a wolf to kind of sacrifice yourself if it makes your team to
Yeah. For example, I also recently played a game this summer where I was a wolf with 2 other people. It was a specific setup where the town wins if only 2 wolves are killed. So it is especially important for you to not get caught as a wolf in a way that would result in another wolf dying. And I got caught day 1 from my opening post by other players. What did I do after that? Well, I survived for 4 days. I endorsed the bad ideas of other players and made town push all the other players. And of course, it wasn't sustainable. Eventually, people realized what I'm doing. And by that time, the 2 other players who knew from day 1 that I was going to die they had been slowly building case against me and suspecting me all the way. So when I died, those people gained credibility of my death. And we won that game. And well, there is one strategy called refuge in audacity. It's when a wolf does something so dazzling, amazing, that a wolf would never do that, which is exactly why he did it as a wolf. For example, I also played a game recently where a player claimed role on day 1, and on day 2 retracted the claim. So they made a fake claim on day 1. And well, would a wolf do that move or not? The game is not over yet, and I don't know, but who knows? Moves like this can be very efficient, but they are short-lived. The credibility burst you can get from these moves is usually only temporary. But if you want to get an easy way to survive day 1, this can be one option for you. But of course, you need to be very careful with it. Sometimes your takes are just so outrageous that people don't stop and think, well, would Wolf actually do that? But instead just eliminate you on the spot. And well, one of the aspects of playing Wolf is to decide who dies on each night. And here you must also remember the goal of the Wolves. In the setup of 15 players I spoke, it's about eliminating 5 players during the day. So when you're choosing the night kill with this goal, you should prioritize these criteria I have here. Of course, there are exceptions. It's not a straightforward game, but these give you a good starting point. First, consider that are the power roles. If there are players who have claimed that I am the seer, I am the bodyguard, those are usually good targets. If they are the power role, they aren't going to die on the day. And well, players who will not die during the day are also very good candidates. Usually these are players who are considered town in the game. If a player is considered town and is in the town core, they are not a player you can feasibly eliminate during the day. And since you need to eliminate players on the day, 5 of them, killing players from that group is a good idea generally. Is this player dangerous to wolves is also a very good question. In the game I cited earlier, where I got caught on day 1, we killed the player who suspected the whole wolf team on day 1. Well, that player was also considered town, so he was a good target otherwise as well. But within the players who were not going to die in the game, he was the most dangerous, so we had to get rid of him. And one question is that if a certain player dies, will the town suspect us? Well, in that case, town should have suspected the 3 of us for that death. But, well, sometimes town are lazy and they don't remember who other players suspected. So use that to your advantage. Of course, there are some situations where there can be established links through the night kills, and town should definitely look into that. They shouldn't just forget that a player has died. Every night kill is made with a reason. But this is a lesser point. And well, in some games there are only a few active players and other players are more quiet. In those situations, killing the most active players can make the game more quiet, and that is beneficial for wolves. The more quiet the game is, the less content there is, the less solving there is. And if you can strike to the heart of the activity and slow down the game a lot by that, it can give you a better game state where the wolves have the advantage. And sometimes kills that create chaos and confusion are the best option. Like, there can be situations where all the wolves are well trusted as town. And if the players are not, if the wolves kill other towny players, eventually the other people will notice that everyone in the town core except for these 3 people have died. This is very suspicious. Why aren't these people dying? So sometimes making kills that create chaos is the best opportunity for wolves. But this is very situational. And well, here are, you asked earlier for the tips to counter wolves. Well, this is not a day one tool necessary, but the strongest tool in Tone's arsenal is to adapt and to reassess. Every day and every night you will get more information. Every time a player gives a vote, you can get more information. For example, in a game I played in championships last year, we had a very high suspicion on a certain player. But then another player who we trusted down started to vote another player instead. And like 2 minutes before the game was ending, this other player had outtaken the suspicious player in the votes. And 5 seconds before the game ended, the player switched the vote to the suspicious player, and the suspicious player died. Well, the suspicious player was Wolf. We had new information on all the players who had switched to the other player to the votes, who tried to push the other player over the suspicious player. And yeah, that info is something you should reassess. Well, usually the vote results are not this extreme, but hopefully they prove the point why following the vote count is important. And something the town will eventually meet is wine in front of me situations. This refers to an old movie clip where there was an evil villain with 2 cups. No, actually, it was a hero with 2 cups. One of them had poison, one of them was given to the villain, and one was with the hero. One of the cups had poison, but the villain did not know which one. So after that, the villain was given the option to drink his own cup or to swap the cups with the person, so that he would drink the one cup the hero was from the cup the hero was holding, and the hero would drink from his cup. Well, it went to a debate. Are you the type of a person who would put the poison into your own cup and expect me to switch them, or would you expect me to do that exactly and instead put it into the other cup? And there will be these situations where you will be thinking that, well, did the wolves anticipate this ahead? Am I just getting outplayed? And just beat out the mental stress and move on. A more concrete example of this in a game, the game where I said that I was caught on the first day on my first post. On the last day I was alive, I made a push against another player. And after that, well, I was killed, but the town had to decide if the player I pushed was town or wolf. And this is the moment where they think that, well, did he pick a wolf as the countervagant to give credibility? Well, did I pick a wolf to suspect to give credibility for that wolf on the next day? Or did I do it to a town? Which one did I do? And if I did it to a wolf, would they expect that I just... Well, never mind. In the end, I had done that to a town, and game was won because they thought I had done it to a wolf. And there will be these 50-50 situations. You must have the mental fortitude to deal with them. And re-evaluate not only the votes, but the game state. If the wolves are in danger in the game should feel different. If it's going too easy from one target to second target to third target during the days and they are all town, you should start thinking that maybe there is a deep wolf in the town core who has not been found. And always look for the signs of wolf perspective or the too much information dilemma to catch the wolves. And remember to use the pool of elimination and the town core tools. They are very helpful. Few notes. I see that I'm already over time, but I will keep this very short. Oh, there is a question.
What was the wife on you wrote about?
Wine in front of me. So it
I
w-
got the 50-50.
yeah, the 50-50. So which one did I do? So wolves attempt to hunt power roles, and well, usually town just is very passive, but sometimes town should give cover for the power roles. For example, if there is a setup where there is a seer, or a person who can during the night visit another player and say that they are town or wolf, it is possible to play in a way that every player gives a read that, yeah, I made this read as a seer in the night, this player is town. And that way all the players will give information, and when the real seer dies, the results of the seer from each night are known, because everyone was providing cover for the seer, and the seer was able to give this information without being immediately targeted by wolves. And claims and fake claims can be used by both wolves and town. For example, if a wolf is dying, they can claim that I am the seer, and usually in that situation, the real seer might step up and say, no, you're not, you're a wolf, die, and the seer dies next night. And in some games, in some setups, town can also make fake claims, but those are usually very rare situations. And well, about playstyle, there are many different playstyles as managed. There are players. Some players are more analytical, some more aggressive, emotional, some feint and make traps, some give thoughts openly, some keep info to themselves. It's okay to play in your own style, but there are some good points for styles that apply to all the styles. First one is clarity. It's important that you speak in clear manner, but it's more important that you won't be misinterpreted in your message. That can be worse than being unclear. Second is that you must be able to work as a member of a team despite your play style. Good style gives you consistent results, and it's not arbitrary. The style must adapt to an extent, but it will also adapt to an extent and be reactive. It's not something that you can keep constant all the time. And lastly, it must be active in a manner that if your style is being quiet in the corner, it's not very effective for the town. Yeah, every game is a lesson, so every time you play, evaluate what went well, what went wrong, what you did well, what other players did well. That will help you develop a lot. And now it's time for questions. Thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you'll find those wolves or those tasty humans with this info. Thank you. So if there are questions, I will gladly take them. If not, I heard they are playing Werewolf somewhere here, so take out your new information and go play.